Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. So before we begin the video today, I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and like and subscribe. Comment down below. Check the description of this video and all the other videos on my channel if you're in a position to help the channel grow in any way. I have links there for my Patreon, Teespring, and several other support links, as well as the usual advocacy links. With all that out of the way, folks, thank you for watching today, and let's get on with the video. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the channel. So most of you who've been subscribed, or even our recent subscribers, are going to know that I just finished up a 250 subscriber contest. I want to say thank you to everybody who did a video response. Especially thank you to Horror with Hoss, who was our winner. But a huge thank you to Jen and Christian for coming on the live stream with me, talking gutter balls, and participating in the drawing. So for my contest, I asked one simple question. What were 5 movies you were late to the party on? 5 movies that you didn't see when they came out and wish you had. Or 5 movies that you saw later in life that you wish you had seen at a different time period. Sometimes movies that we were late to the party on are movies that we kind of missed the boat on. When I started my my 1980s top 5 lists, I started going through those, and other people who participated, I thank you guys so much for that. You guys inspired me to go back and watch some of those movies from 1980, 1981, and so forth, that I had missed. Movies that you guys apparently cherished and put on your list. And that was actually, when I decided to do the contest, the first question that I came up with was, what was one that you missed out on like that? And then I just decided to go with a list of 5, because there's usually more than one that people can think of. So I haven't done my list yet. So again, thank you to everybody who participated in it. But this is my list. 5 movies that I missed the boat on that I wish I had seen at a different moment in my life. So number 5 on my list is Fade to Black. This movie came out in 1980. It tells the story of a movie-obsessed guy who goes on a killing spree and dresses up as characters from different movies and lives his life through moments from different movies. This movie appeared on a couple people's list. Christian for one, and Charles Cochran for another. I think it actually showed up on somebody else's list too, but I'm not sure. Those are the 2 that I for sure remember talking about it. Now, this movie is not one that when I watched it a couple of months ago now, that I fell in love with. I don't love this movie. I enjoy this movie. I think it's quite good. I enjoy some of the performances in it. A young Mickey Rourke is in this. Tim Thomerson, who would go on to play Jack Death in the Trancers franchise, as well as doing character work throughout the 80s and early 90s. Really like him as an actor. But this movie is one of those that I really enjoy, but I know if I had seen this movie in my 20s, when I had that 20-year-old mindset and thought I knew everything, and thought that my knowledge of movies was vast, and it wasn't. It's still not. I just get on here and give my opinions, but I know that if I had seen this movie then, that this movie would have so spoken to me. It would have been one of those movies that I would have loved and championed and pushed and, probably watched twice a month for years to come at that age. Now I enjoy this movie. I enjoy the retrospect of this movie. Um, but I don't love this movie. But it's definitely an A- movie for me now. So, but I know in my 20s this movie would have been would have blown my mind. It would have just been the end all and be all of my movie experiences at that time. So, number 4 on the list is a movie that I absolutely adore. Um, and that is Reanimator. Now, this is a movie I did see in my 20s, but it came out in the mid 80s, and it took me, I guess, somewhere around the year 2000 ish, depending. Somewhere in that era, I saw it, and I have loved it ever since. It's a great movie, as everybody in the community knows. But I just, for whatever reason, it was there to rent. I saw it numerous times, the cover numerous times, the movies to rent tons of times when it came out and through the years. But for whatever reason, I just didn't see this movie until mid 20s. Um, and I don't really have a good reason. It was right up my alley. It was right up the kind of movies that I was watching at that time. Uh, but I just didn't see it. But now, having seen it, and of course now we have the complete unrated and all of that extra versions of it with all the extra footage. And Jeffrey Combs in this is off the charts. So much fun, such a great movie, such a great product of its time, such a time capsule for its time, and I love this movie now. And if I had seen this as a teenager, it would have been mind blowing. So number 3 is going to be Wrong Turn, not the original, the recent one. Like I said in my summer horror movie review or horror movie list, I love the original franchise, and to me, this isn't a remake. It's an expanded universe. This is the Wrong Turn version of the MCU. It's a spinoff. For me, this takes place in that same universe. It's just not, because there's definitely some moments in this one where it goes a little camp at times, but never over the top. It's very much like the original Wrong Turn was in that respect. This one, group of kids gets themselves into a situation in the hill country with a group that is off the grid and living their own life and by their own rules and laws. This one is a more serious take than even the original one was. The ending of it's kind of tacked on and wonky, but as far as the main through line of the film, I really liked it. I really liked what it was, where it took some of the characters, what it said to them and about them, and what it said about wanting to fit in at all costs. I think this movie was definitely underrated. In a lot of people's minds, just blew it off as just another remake, or blew it off as, because it was related to Wrong Turns 3, 5, and 6, and they thought it was going to have that cheese fest kind of tone to it, but it doesn't. It takes itself just serious enough. It's probably 90% serious and 10% kind of tongue-in-cheek, and it's just enough that there are moments in it that are genuinely, that the gore to them is good. It's genuinely something that kind of puts you into the characters, into the story, pulls you in. It's a much better movie than what a lot of people think it is. And I really wish that I had seen this much earlier, but my love for the original franchise kind of clouded me, and I didn't see this one until it was a year old. I just saw it a couple of months ago. Speaking of movies that came out and I only saw a couple of months ago, that leads us to number 2 on our list. If you've been following the channel much lately, you know that I have been a huge champion of this movie ever since I did see it, and that's Gutterballs. This movie is not for everybody. Know who you are before you go into it, but this movie is intense, it's funny, it's dumb, it's a loving tribute to the 80s, a loving tribute to slasher films. I won't necessarily use the word love in this line, but I will say that it is very much a tribute to the exploitation films of the 70s, the grindhouse films of the 70s. Definitely shot with a mindset that was a movie by a horror fan for horror fans, and the people who are in it are obviously horror fans and want to give you that horror fan experience that we haven't had for a very long time. Again, this movie has got some things in it. I did a full review on it. If you want to know a whole lot about it, go and watch that. The drawing that we just did, the live stream, Jen and Christian and myself, we pretty much broke down the entire plot of the movie and talked about all the kills in depth and the strangely in-depth level of some of the characters, some of the little throwaway lines that are actually meaningful, some of the characters who have a lot more depth to them than it meets the eye when you just glance at it. It's definitely a movie that you can shut your brain off and just have a fun time with the camp on it, the goofiness, and all of that. But there's also, if you actually look at it and pay attention to what's going on, there's also some more down deep in it. And then it piles on and piles on and piles on when it gets to the raunch and the extreme. And if you like that sort of thing and you like blood and guts, it's going to be a movie for you. If you can't handle the infamous act that sets off the killing spree, that's understandable. It might be one for you to skip, but there is definitely something here. And this is definitely a smarter movie than people give it credit for. And God, I wish I had seen this earlier, and I wish that more people would see this movie and talk about how good this movie really is. So, number one on my list. This one's going to blow some brains, but number one on my list is the original Halloween. Technically 1 and 2 for me. Most people, there's one movie for me, or most people see it as 2 movies, and I see parts 1 and part 2 as one movie because I literally saw them the first time back to back. So if you have been following the channel, you know that personally I have if you haven't, here comes a real kick in the pants. I have a huge hatred for Halloween 3. Absolutely despise that movie. So the story to it goes, and I've told this several times, but I'll probably keep telling it again. When I was first getting into horror movies, it was 84, 85. And I had seen the first 2 Fridays, the first Nightmare, first TCM, and a lot of the other stuff that was out at the time. And friends of mine at school kept telling me that I had to see the Halloween franchise, that if I liked the other stuff that I was seeing, that Halloween was even better. Well, the little local video store that we have, or had at the time, Halloween 1 and 2 were never in. They were always rented out. So I didn't really have the opportunity to see them because that was close by, and I lived rurally, grew up rurally, and it was a 30-minute drive to town to go to a big video rental place. All I had was the little local mom and pop. 1 and 2 had been lost, stolen, whatever, but they were never in stock, but 3 was. So I grabbed 3. I don't know it's a slasher. I don't know Michael Myers from Adam. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm just seeing this going, okay, this is supposed to be the greatest franchise in horror history. And I sit down and watch Halloween 3, and I hated it. And have ever since. I have hated this movie since 1984, and I will continue to hate this movie. Nothing anybody can say will ever make me, in any shape, form, or fashion, like this movie. So I didn't watch Halloween 1 and 2 because 3 pissed me off. I found out later, of course, that 1 and 2 is a slasher about Michael Myers, about Jamie Lee Curtis, but I didn't see it. I just kind of... 3 pissed me off. I had no interest in the franchise. Until Halloween 4 came out. When Halloween 4 came out, the ads for it, the trailers for it that were on TV, looked so good that I thought, okay, well, I'm going to give it a chance. And just by luck, some friends of mine were going to see Halloween 4 opening weekend. So, in order to see Halloween 4, I went into town and got Halloween 1 and 2. Because I was driving and could by that point. So I got Halloween 1 and 2, sat down and watched them as one long continuous movie, and I really enjoy Halloween 1 and 2. I enjoy Halloween 4. I think Halloween 4 is probably is pretty close to Halloween 1 in my list. It's better than Halloween 2, but I really enjoy Halloween 1 and 2 and have since I did see them. But I really wish that instead of renting 3, I had gotten 1 and 2 and watched that in 1984 instead of Halloween 3. I'm not one of those people who's going to say, I wish I had never seen that one because I wouldn't know how terrible it was if I hadn't seen it. But I love 1 and 2, but I have so much more nostalgia for Nightmare on Elm Street, TCM, and Friday the 13th because those were the ones that I fell in love with, and I was late to the game on Halloween, and that's why. So it doesn't have that nostalgia for me. It doesn't have that first getting into horror love that everybody else has for it. So my number 1 on this list is Halloween 1 and 2. That's ones that I was late to the party on, and that's why. So again, thank you all so much for participating in the contest. Thank you again to Horror with Hoss for your entry, and congratulations on your win. And thank you to all the new subscribers especially. As I always end my videos with, y'all be good, y'all be safe, and y'all have a good one.